We should have a contest sometime. Just how stupid are some school administrators? In Maryland, a 7-year-old was suspended. Why?
The teacher says that he picked up that Pop-Tart, made gun noises, shooting noises, and pointed it at children.
A Pop-Tart? These are really a threat? What is the school thinking? The school said it wasn't the first offense, and it's unfortunate that his lawyer turned it into a spectacle. But it's not unfortunate. Someone should make a spectacle of overreaction like that because it keeps happening. Kids get punished for playing with toy guns, even off school property.
The Virginia Beach City Public School System suspended her 13-year-old son Khalid and his friend Aiden Clark because they were firing this spring-driven airsoft gun on the Caraballo's posted private property.
Including my son. He's private property to me. He's my property, not the school's property, until he is in their school and on their school bus.
Or even
at the bus stop.
And even on school property, I wouldn't think a toy gun would be such a huge deal. Patrice Lee of the Independent Women's Forum tries to keep track of these cases. Patrice, it's a mean world. We got to make sure the kids get the message.
You're feeding into the culture of alarmism here. What we're seeing is an overreaction by school administrators and people who are trying to stop what could be actions on the parts of young kids, but they have an unintended consequence of really harming the students that they're meant to help.
What are these people thinking? I mean, a Pop-Tart.
So they're thinking that that could be used and construed in the wrong way. Another student can feel hurt by it or fearful of it, and then it could cause a chain reaction and unfortunately lead to some sort of lawsuit down the line.
Don't they get embarrassed? I rarely hear them like, yeah, we went too far. They never admit that.
They don't want to admit that they've come up with a bad policy. And unfortunately, they're at odds against communities and individuals and families who really are the ones who should be deciding what's best for the kids.
The craziness is not confined to school boards. It thrives even in the child welfare bureaucracies. In New Jersey, the Fox affiliate reporter Bill Anderson reported on a boy who got in trouble because he played with a pencil.
You may have heard the story of 13-year-old Ethan Chaplin. He's the young man who was suspended from school for twirling a pencil. Another student said that the pencil appeared threatening, was symbolic of a gun, and ultimately told the teachers. Ethan was suspended. He was ordered to undergo psychological evaluation.
Then the geniuses at the New Jersey Department of Children and Families stepped in. Ethan's father explains what happened then.
First, they stripped him. They put him in a bed, took everything away from him, including his phone. About an hour later, they took urine, and then about 45 minutes later, they took blood in which he passed out. And they released him.
The school investigated and cleared this young man of any charges, and we thought that that was the end of the case. And then the state decides to step in and say to the father, well, we think that because you didn't send your child to counseling, that there's some sort of harm being done to him. So now this father is in danger of potentially losing his son.
They threatened to take the child away because the said, no, you people are idiots.
Absolutely. And what the sad part is that there are so many children in New Jersey, I'm sure, who are in abusive situations and in far worse situations than in the care of a loving father like this man is.
Well, we tried to get them to talk to us about this. They said confidentiality laws prevent us from commenting. Simply twirling a pencil is not a basis to initiate Child Protective Services. They imply there was some other sinister stuff going on.
That's what happens when you stand up against bad, misguided policies. But that doesn't mean that parents and children should not stand up when things like this come against them.
A few other cases. 6-year-olds have been suspended for playing cops and robbers and using their finger as a gun. Mm-hmm. A deaf boy was forced to change his name because in the sign language symbol resembled a gun?
Yeah.
A Georgia teenager was charged with a felony because he had fishing knives in his car. Mm-hmm. And an 8th grader was given detention for sharing a meal with a hungry student because they worry about food allergies.
A young man who's just helping another student who was hungry that day and was really going to throw away the other half of his uneaten burrito. He said, you know what, why don't you have my sandwich, my burrito? And the school said, nope, there's a no tolerance policy against sharing lunch or sharing food whatsoever. What we're seeing is just a reaction.
Because
Well, because there's a fear that you can pass on germs and some sort of infectious disease. Again, overreaction, and it's meant to stimulate us to feel like the world is falling and our children are at risk. They're not at risk. They're safe, and we should be protecting them, not turning it over to the schools.
Thank you, Patrice. Next, Hollywood hypocrites.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
This question is for Patrice. You and John showed these terrible, terrible examples of school policy run amok, and I just want to know, has there been any substantive action to correct those policies?
It's about common sense, but there's another case, interestingly, where a young woman, chapstick was banned for in her school, strangely, and she actually...
It's an over-the-counter medicine, they said.
But what she did is she collected 30,000 signatures and is turning them into her school system to say, you know what, actually this ban does not make any sense, and for me, who has a chronic chapped lip problem, you know, I deserve to be protected just as much. So it's as much about the individuals and the parents standing up, and then, you know, laws maybe, but when we stand up and we unite together, that causes a lot of change.
You have talked about